Hello, it's Leela. Thanks so much for tuning in and checking me out while I work on a new process to me, and it's Quilt As You Go. I am going to use a bunch of scrap fabrics that I have on hand, and I'm also going to use my Stripology ruler to go through this process. If you're interested, keep watching. The first set came out very nice. I did not record that process, but I'm going to record the next one. I like how the back looks very nice and neat, which is what I was going for. When I do the next one, I'm going to add a piece of material to the back. I'm going to sandwich the batting and the actual front of my material that I'm going to be quilting as I go. I'm using 80/20 batting. I have scrap batting here that I pulled out. I'm going to cut it down to size, just to the size of this previous block that I've created. And this is nothing special at all. It's just a bunch of scraps going, and if the sizes are not right, that's just fine. I'm just going to be sewing them together later on in the process. So I'm just kind of rough cutting to this size that I already have here, just to give me a starting point. I'll continue to cut as I go along. I will be using 100% cotton fabric that I've picked up from a couple of local quilt shops. I just cut those with my Ginger scissors just to get kind of an even edge there, but I will be cutting the batting down when I'm all done with the Quilt As You Go sewing. I'm not sure how many blocks I'll make today on video, but I want to have these ready for when I am ready to do more Quilt As You Go. I will definitely share on video how I do one of my blocks. We are moving over to my Stripology XL Ruler. I use this often. I am going to be cutting different sizes. I don't have a certain size in mind. Some of the strips are going to be maybe 2 inches, some will be 2.5, some maybe 3. I just have a bunch of scrap fabric that I'm not even going to do anything special with. If there's pieces and misses in the fabric, that's just fine. When I open them up, I'll fix that. I just want to have my strips cut nicely so that when I do the Quilt As You Go, it will look nice when I put them together. But I don't have any certain size I'm cutting the strips at. Just going on along. Keep watching. If you've noticed, much of the fabric, once I fold it, has not been all very full, and that doesn't matter to me because this is really a true scrap project. I just wanted to make sure that I had strips that were at least long enough to cover my batting and backing so that when I go over to the sewing machine, I can cover what I'm working on. But I'm not trying to be precise as far as 2 inch, 3 inch, 2.5, things like that. See how raggedy that is? But I'm going to use it. I am going to use it, and it's going to work out just fine. I know it is. That was a lot of cutting, but I got it done. I have plenty of strips to get started with. Look at all that fabric. That's a lot of fun. I love fabrics and playing with them. So I am ready to go over to the sewing machine. First off, I have a bit of kind of thin muslin type cotton that I'm using for the backing. I just cut it down to the same size as my batting. I have some Dritz spray adhesive. I'll link some of these things down in the description box below in case you want to check them out for yourself. There will probably be links to Amazon and things like that, maybe Walmart, something like that. So I'm spraying just a bit, real lightly, of the spray adhesive, and then I'm laying down my backing fabric and just smoothing it out a little bit because when I take it over to the sewing machine, I like for it to be nice and flat, and I don't want it bunching under the sewing machine when I begin to sew. Alright, I've made it over to the sewing machine. I have my batting and my backings together. The first strip, I'm just laying it right across the middle in no certain order. I'm just grabbing strips as I go. I love this floral fabric here. So I'm just laying the fabrics right sides together and starting to sew right across the top of the fabric using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I have my 1/4 inch foot on the machine, and I'm just going to finger press the fabric down. Later I'll pull out a tool to help me with some of the finger pressing. I just have to grab it, but I'll just keep grabbing material, strips of my material that I cut with the Stripology ruler, and I'm laying it down, not pulling too tight on it because I don't want anything to stretch out of place. I'm just sewing that 1/4 inch seam allowance and finger pressing down, grabbing the next piece, and I'm not being very particular with it because I am going to square everything off when I'm finished with the stitching of this Quilt As You Go project. I'll tell you a little bit more about this tool I'm using in a minute. That was the last strip on this side of the block. I'm just grabbing my mat and I'm going to grab one of my rotary cutters. I think I need to change the blade. I'm sure I do. I'm just squaring off a little bit, just getting off the sides of what I've already sewn, but I'm not being precise at all because I'm just getting the fabric out of the way so that I can move to the other side. Here I am putting the right sides together, but first I need to rethread my needle. I don't use the automatic needle threader much on this machine because threading is not that difficult for me so far. So I have the right sides together using the 1/4 inch foot for a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll just keep going on. Just press my seam down a little bit with my fingers and using the Hera marker. It's H-E-R-A. It's a marker I got from Juki Junkies. They also have it on Amazon. And I use it to when I'm trying to learn to do free motion quilting. I'm going to pick up another one. I got to check at my local quilt shop to see if they have one. They have everything over there. So I'm just continuing on putting the right sides together and using the Hera marker to kind of crease those seams a little bit without having to go to the sewing machine. Choosing different fabrics so that I can space my fabrics out a little bit, but I'm not trying to be very particular about that. It's a quick process. After this last strip is complete, I will take it over to my cutting mat and I will cut all the edges off. I am using my Aliso iron to kind of steam press those seams so that they'll look nice and crisp. I'm spraying a bit of Best Press, Mary Ellen's Best Press there, just to make it look more neater. Here I'm not being real precise, but I am cutting. I want it to be about the size of the previous Quilt As You Go block I made earlier today. So I'm just first kind of squaring off the edges to make them neat, and then I'll try to size it down a bit to kind of match that other block. Not that they'll be sewn together because they don't match at all, but I'm not sure how much of a scrap quilt this is going to be, but I think I'll do light colors together. I think, but you never know, I might decide to sew those together. For now, I just want to keep them around the same size. That's the goal. Gonna slow it down just a little bit because I want to give you a chance to check out the backing. The back turned out very nice, and that is the look I was going for. The batting and the backing fabric are the same color here, but it just shows how nice it turned out. I hit it with a fine mist of the Mary Ellen's Best Press spray. I like the ones that have the kind of floral smell to it, and it really helps when you spray. I place mine in a little spritz bottle. Here I'm using one of my Taylor's clappers. I got this from Amazon. I'll leave a link below to many of these items. This really helps with my seams. And that's it for my blocks. I am going to be making more as I go along, but I wanted to share with you how these look. They are different size strips, but they both look very nice. I didn't stick to a certain size for the strips, but I still really like how they came out. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.